Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Grandpa Mark's Hobbies and our finale of MPC's 79 Chevy Nova kit. I had a blast with this kit. I really did. Let me get the guys out of the way here. Oh, sorry about that. Lee, Chandler, and TJ are trying to figure out the interior. Doug's getting one more shot. Wayne's over there just making sure everything's polished. Noel is making sure everything is right. And Tim is checking out Rob's grill. Check this out. Yeah, he doesn't mess around, does he? So let's talk about this kit a little bit. I painted it Kaleido green over Kaleido's gloss black primer. I like that combination. It darkened the green up to where I really wanted it. Spoon test showed exactly what I was looking for. Then we used the SS stripes on this, and everything went together well. I mean, I had no other than, you might notice there is a missing mirror. It is in this room somewhere. I went to put it on, it went pling, and it was gone. So later on today, I'm going to pull the shop vac out. We're going to move everything around and see if we can't get it. The hood on this is the only thing that I had to mess with. And it wasn't the hood, it was the way the hood went in the car. It kind of sat cattywampus, where it was back end down, front end up, all at the same time. So to solve that, first thing I did is the rubber stop, which that's supposed to be the spring, I trimmed down just a smidge. And that brought the front end down, but the back end was still low. So what I ended up doing is taking two pieces of, let me bring you in a little bit here. I took two small pieces of evergreen and I cut them and sanded them down to where they were the right height, to where this would fit on there level with, minor gaposes around the board. But the problem with that is it wanted to slide forward. Well, it had the two stops on it. So what I ended up doing is taking just the tiniest piece, and it was my 0.3 millimeter solder, and I glued it right here. And what that did is it made the rubber stopper that was there, when I put this in place, it pulls it backwards. See, I go over the top of that, and it sits in there, and now it holds a lot better than it did. Once it's in spot, it kind of locks it in place. So it was an easy fix. It's just something to be ready for. And what it is the firewall sits down so far. It's where it's supposed to be. There's no other way to get it because the front here is making contact across the board. So with everything in there and the chassis sitting in place, the firewall drops down. Now, you could probably glue the firewall to the top here to solve that problem, because then it would lift everything up. But I think then it would lift it up to where you'd have to cut these nubs clean off. And then you'd have to hope that your chassis or your interior doesn't push forward and end up pinning the back and lifting the back up. But like I said, it was an easy fix. It took all of about 10 minutes to cut, paint, and put in there, glue, and be done with it. And I used super glue, so I didn't even have to wait for that to dry. But I did do a lot with this engine. I will start from this side and work our way over. I added the wires for the battery, the battery cables. This one runs down to the starter. This comes down around and goes onto the frame, or the head right underneath the valve cover. Give a good ground. The windshield washer line runs to the front. The heater hoses run back in. I drilled little holes where they're supposed to be here, and I had a heck of a time getting them in there because I had to put them in after everything was assembled. So a little bit of headlight action and just kind of fishing to get them into the holes. Then I had to go back and touch up the firewall where I scratched it. This is my .8 solder, the bigger stuff, and just painted with rubber black. So that went easy. While I had the rubber black out and everything, I made my booster line for over here. I made my PCV lines for both sides of the engine. So we have all that with .8 millimeter. And then with the .3 millimeter, I ran my spark plug wires. I used yellow for my Excel spark plug wires. Put the coil on the firewall back here where you can't see it. It's back behind the engine. It's my story. I'm sticking to it. Vacuum advance is on and run underneath the carb. Also, my fuel line comes up. That's still the .3 millimeter solder. Comes up from the pump, across, comes into the side. Let me tilt this a little bit and see if you could see it. Tilts into the side and then goes into the fuel rail for the Holly. Then on the other side, I made a return spring out of my .24 or 24 AWG wire. I didn't even paint it. I liked the color of the spring, so I left it alone. Usually I painted green or orange or something like that, but that just looked good under there with the Holly. Really nice detail. That's a 3D printed Holly that I got, and I really like it. Then I added my throttle linkage to the top of that, so it goes over the top. And everything really came out nice there. I added my brake lines to the over here, and then I took and with the AWG 32 wire, I cut and put the hold down on top of the reservoir. Just a little extra. It only took 2 seconds, but I think it looks pretty good. And then the last cable in here is the overflow. Comes from the radiator cap that I forgot to paint. I'll do that before I give it away. And it comes around and just ties into the bottle. So very simple. And it only maybe all that wiring probably took 15 minutes of prep time just to get everything painted and all that. The spark plug wires took a little longer because I added those wire looms. So they might have taken all of about 8 minutes to run from once I glued them into the, and I went the other way with this because I was doing the wire looms. I glued them into the distributor this time and then ran them down and put them in the heads through those wire looms. And I don't think I have a picture. I am going to do a music montage at the end of this, but I don't think I have a picture of me doing those wires because it was kind of finicky just getting them to where they didn't spin around. For the water bottle and the overflow, what I did with the water bottle is I took Tamiya's X14 sky blue and just a smidge of the XF2 flat white. And I'm only using a couple of drops at a time when I'm doing this. And then for the overflow, I use the X15, which is light green, and the XF2. And I lightened it down just a tiny bit and painted that hard on there to where it was very bright and just stood out like a sore thumb. So I let that sit, and the next day I took my XF2 and put it in a water bottle cap with some water, and I made a wash. And the wash turned that to where, and I don't think the camera's doing it justice, but the wash made that look like that fluid is on the inside because it gave it another dimension. So it looks a lot better in person than it does on the camera, I do believe. But it's easy to do. It only took me a little while, um, and 2 coats. So no big deal. The hardest part is making that line go even all the way around the bottle. And then the battery, I painted it semi-gloss black, and then I went and I painted all the caps silver. I painted the lug silver, let that dry overnight, came back the next day with park green, and I painted the caps with park green just because I wanted something different than the green that I used for the water ball or the overflow. And then I noticed that it has a real nice Delco on it. So what I did is I took my razor knife and just scraped it a little bit and brought that Delco out just a little bit. And I think that came out pretty good. I'm happy with that. So the whole engine took me a day or two just to get the whole engine compartment done. There was a nice ridge on the water or the radiator line for the clamp. So I just painted that silver, let it dry, and then painted the rest of the hoses the next day. But all in all, it came out really great. I used Tamiya's titanium gold on the cap and the dark brown or dark iron, I'm sorry, for the brakes. And then the master cylinder, I just painted the semi-gloss black. So we're really good there. The hood, while we're pulled down here, uh, those went on really well. And what was nice is I had a real goofy paint spot right here. I don't know what was going on with that. I think there was something in the plastic because it left a mark and the stripe covered that up. So, yay. Other than that, this paint went on nice. And like I said, this is Kaleido's almond green K309, and I'm still really bad with the names of these things. When you shake this, shake the snot out of it, get all that metallic up into the paint, and then when you're sitting between coats, before you go and spray it again, put your finger on the end of the airbrush and give it a couple of pushes just to mix that back up in there, and then spray 2 or 3 times just out in the air before you start coming over it. And that'll keep that metallic up and in suspension. On the bottom side, I always use and I saved this, my foamy clothespin, and I glue it on there, and that's how I paint it. Well, doing that and getting all this done made this to where I had a nice huge white spot here and just overspray. So I took some of the 309 and I shook the snot out of it, put 2 drops in a water bottle cap, and I hand painted all the framework. And I think that painted up there real nice. That's 2 coats within maybe 45 minutes of each other. And what I did is I put the 2 drops in the water bottle, and I did something else for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then came back, and it dried enough to where it painted well. So just something to think about. You can brush paint with this. You're still going to get those brush lines, and it's going to be a little bit darker. You can see it's a little darker, but for underneath the hood, man, that came out really good. And then for the insulation, I painted with my acrylic black that's somewhere here. And then I let that dry, and I came back with my desert tan, or dark yellow, I'm sorry, and did just a quick dry brush on there, just speckled dry brushed it, let that dry for 10-15 minutes, grabbed my pastels out, and I hit this with a little bit of white pastels, a little bit of brown pastels, and a little bit of black pastels, and let that go. And I think that looks pretty darn good. There's a good picture of what it looks like to my eyes, and that looks good with the 3D molding that they put on there. So I'm super happy with the way that came out. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be the latch to open the hood up or not, so I hit that with silver and just rolled with it. Again, the stripes went down good. I opted out of putting the Chevy on the front here. I just didn't think it'd look right with the stripes. So now let's back us up here and talk about the rest of the car. I don't know if you can tell, but I sure did enjoy building this. It came out really good. You can see my face in there. This is the gloss black primer, 2 coats. I sanded that down, fixed all the things that showed up, did 2 more coats and let that dry overnight. Came back, 2 coats of the 309, let that dry for a couple of days, and then 2 coats of the clear varnish over top of that. Let that dry for a couple of days, and then hit it with the Tamiya's polish, the coarse and the fine, and that's where we are right now. I haven't waxed this yet because I wanted to show you before I waxed it, but I will put a coat of turtle wax ice on this before I box it up. This is going to a friend, so I want to do that last after I wipe all my fingerprints off it and stuff like that. But it came out really great. I did a bunch of looking on the internet when it came time to do this trim, and some of these cars have the chrome in the front and the back and body color on the side trims. Some of them have the chrome in the front and the back and black trim on the sides. And some of them have a combination of the black trim on the sides and the chrome on the sides. And I wanted to give this thing just a little bit of bling since we do have the SS stripes on it. So I painted the chrome on the front, the back, and the sides. And for the vent bar, the beauty bar on the sides, I did those the black. And I like it a lot. It came out nice. That chrome is the Fusion Firm. And what I do with this is, man, you shake it like crazy. I've already taken the brush out of here because it fell out when I first got it. And after I put this on my shaker, my paint shaker that I showed you a couple videos ago, I'll give it just a quick shake this way. When I take the cap off, there's an indent in the cap where the brush goes, and that is perfect for dipping your brush to get the paint out of it. And then I just went around and I did that. I also painted the Nova on it. I let that go for 3 or 4 days. I did not paint the indicators. I left them body color, and I like that look. If I was going to do this, because this is definitely a custom paint job, a custom build, I would have left those, I would have taken the chrome out of those and left them the body color like that. I always like that look, and it doesn't take away from the script on it or anything else like that. I did not do any chrome around the sides or the bottom. I wanted to let that just be plain. On the back, let me bring you around. I'm happy with the way that came out. I did put the decal in the back for this. Dog hair everywhere. The taillights, I'm super happy with the way those came out. And what I did with those is I started out painting the whole darn thing chrome, or Tamiya's clear red. The whole piece of chrome, covered up everything. And then I let that dry, and I came back with the Future Firm and painted the raised up parts. And I'm happy I did it that way because it's subtle, and I didn't try to feed that in there or anything like that and make it to where it would look blotchy. It kind of took that blotchiness away. And then the frame around the taillights, I painted that with the Fusion Firm along with the Nova sign in the back. And when I dropped those in, it was like, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I'm happy with that. Custom Puerto Rico license plate on there, and I made that on Photoshop. Didn't take that long. So that's that. Same thing with the other side. Still missing the mirror. That bums me out. Let's talk about these rims. I'll bring you up close here. They were chrome. Really, really bright. And those are aluminum rims. So I stripped them down. It only took a minute in my Purple Power. Then I hit them with the Kaleido aluminum over black primer. When I primered everything, I primered them. And I like that. It gave it the dark kind of right after you got done polishing your aluminum rims. Look to them. I drilled out for the valve stem, and that's just by 0.3 millimeter solder. I added wheel weights to them. You can see those kind of. And all that is the 0.3 millimeter solder. I put it on my self-healing mat and then squished one side flat with the tweezers. And when I did that, the part that goes in the mat stays round. And the part that you're pushing down on flattens out. And that makes that to where it's a nice flat bottom to glue on. And then the round like the wheel weights are. So how cool is that? It worked out perfect. So I did those and put them in random spots, one on each tire. And I really liked them. The hubs and the lug nuts, got the Fusion Firm to make them chrome. The air cleaner is aftermarket. I hated the air cleaner that came with this. I also got an aftermarket carb on there. But that's Fusion Firm on there over top of the black primer. You see it's not mirror, but it looks good. It looks really good. So there's that. The interior went together very well, but it's very difficult to see. And I had a hard time even taking pictures of it. So I'm glad I got a couple of shots for the music montage so you can see in there before I went to town on that. This kit does not have a mirror for the inside. So I found that in one of my bags of tricks and painted it black and just drilled a hole in where the glass goes on and dropped it in there with a little bit of Mod Podge. So that looks better. You can see it in the front. It really looked weird without it. So I took the thing back apart and put it back in. The underside of this thing, I detailed up as much as I could using as much of the models. I love using the model kit parts. So what I did is we added the headers to the engine. Everything was painted flat black. And then I brought up the gloss on all the frames with my quick shine. And I like doing that. It's easier to do that than to try to hand paint all that, the semi-gloss, or try to flatten everything else. Just quick shot of flat, 20 minutes or so with the quick shine, brings that luster up. And then I use the dark yellow and dry brush the bottom to bring the details out and drop that luster back down again. And I'm really happy with that, except I didn't notice that these two holes weren't going to be filled up. So we got drain holes in for the body. So what are you going to do? Everything else went really well. There's about zero detail on the suspension work, and I just went with it. But when I dry brushed everything, it sure did bring up what was there. Made it look nice. The gas tank just flat aluminum, and then the straps were the flat black because I painted that flat aluminum. Oops, sorry. I've painted the gas tank after I had everything painted. This I just airbrushed with my 0.3 millimeter Mobius. Worked out really good. The ladder bars, I opted for yellow just to so they show up. I did not like the way they sat on the rear suspension. They had two mounting pins on them, but they also had the like the mounting bolts that went on them, and those were raising it off of the leaf springs. So I flattened all that out and just glued them on with super glue after I painted them yellow. The hold down here is titanium gold, and I just left everything else go. It looks great when this thing's sitting on its feet. The exhaust is old school plumber's solder. This is old. I mean, it was, let me see if I can pull it out real quick. Yeah, I do have it. This is Dutch boy solder. I mean, this stuff is old. And I don't know where I got it or why I even have it, but it worked out really well. Look at National Lead Company. But it worked out really well for these exhaust pipes. And when I was laying them in there, I thought, man, those just look way out of scale. They just look too big. Until I found a set of mufflers in a bag of tricks. I painted the mufflers titanium from, these are Kaleido. And I did not do anything with the exhaust. I'd left it the solder color. I took some 0.3 millimeter solder and made a couple of hold downs, just for a little bit of interest to break up the line a little bit. I drilled out the backs and painted those with black. And then just before I put the rear suspension in, I slowly started holding this thing in place and bending that solder around until it came out the way I wanted it and lined up with my headers. So I am really, really happy with that and the way everything lined up. It went very well for me. So the rims and tires, I always make mine to where, or I try to make mine to where they don't roll so it doesn't fall off of the shelf. And then I glued it in, and I keep hearing this little click in here when I move this around, and I have a feeling my mirror is underneath my trunk. So, jeez. But that about covers the whole car. I had a blast doing this. It was a kit that I probably would have never done if it wasn't for my buddy Noel at work. So I want to thank Noel for getting me involved in this kit. And with that, how about before we start the music montage, we thank Gallery for everything they've done. I'm starting to really get a hold of how their paints work, and I'm using them more than I would ever thought I would have. If you do decide to get anything from Gallery, use Grandpa Mark. In the coupon code, it'll get you 10% off of your order. Let's thank our active duty people, our veterans, and our first responders. They put it on the line for us every single day, and I salute each and every one of you. And with that, how about if we start the music and check out some of these pictures?